Hello everybody, this is Peter at Bobcat Cam UK, and what I'm going to do today is take you through the stages of manufacturing this component using the 3D toolpaths and show you how we would create this in Bobcat. So here's where we come into the cam tree. We can see the cam tree there, there's cam defaults. There's the component that we're going to machine. So if I right click and new job, we're going to create a new job. Job's going to be milling. We're using the BC3 times mill, which is the machine. And the first thing we're going to do is go to Stock Wizard. So if we select the Stock Wizard, it then gives us the options of creating a rectangular block, a cylindrical block, wireframe, solid model, or an STL file for the stock. But the stock at the moment, I wanted to create a rectangle from this piece of material we've got on the screen, in other words from the model. Select next, and you'll see Bobcat now puts a piece of material of stock around it. You can see its length is 120, width is 120, and it's 55mm high, or below should we say, because it's Z0 and minus 55 to the bottom of the block. Now we can add material onto this if we want to. So imagine I want to face off the top of the job. We need to tell Bobcat that we're going to take 1/2 mil on, so we need to put 1/2 mil on this stock. So on here in the plus value, if I put 0.5 and hit the next block, you will see we've added 0.5. We'll make that 0 at the moment and select the next box. So what we do then is we will continue, and here's where you can pick the datum. At the moment I've got it set on the center. If we wanted this bottom left hand corner, I could pick this bottom left hand corner. If I go into origin, come onto here, highlight it, you can see then that's where the datum's going to be. We might want to pick this bottom left hand corner here, so I'm going to pick origin again, select this, and you can see we've got it on the bottom left hand corner as we want to machine the job. But I want it back in the middle where it belongs, so I'm going to go back to origin, put it back in the middle, which is there, and the datum's back in the middle. You can see the 0 at the enter point here. So we'll put that back to origin, select OK, and you can see origin is 00, or we could have entered that value in there then. So I'm just going to go back and I'm going to add that 1/2 mil on the top of the job, and you can see now it's raised it up 1/2 mil. Continue. I want to work on that datum, which is correct, and select OK, and you can see now we've created the stop around the material. What I'm going to do then is we need to face off the top of the job. So as you can see, this is the machine setup here. This is where the machine setup is. That's where we set the datum. We can blank the stock if you want to blank the stock. Just click on stock, right click and blank. You can see that then blanks it. Or we can right click it, press blank again. You notice the red X at the side. Now it's showing it displayed. Okay. So what we want to do now is we want to create a facing operation to face off the top of the job. So if we go into right click in the machine setup and we go into mill 2 axis, the first thing the software asks us is to pick the geometry. Now I'm going to go into select geometry, and what it is, I've got no information off the model regarding extracting information. As well, in Bobcat we don't need to extract. All we need to do is we decide we're going to pick that bottom surface there. Now I can just left click it, come away, and if I right click it and press OK, it's selected it. If I go next, if I just press cancel and do exactly the same again, right click, mill 2 axis, select geometry, I've highlighted it. Now to save you pressing your mouse button, you can just press the space bar. When you press the space bar, it means OK, it's exactly the same. So if I press the space bar, you can see now next, it's still picked the geometry off the top of that. So what we're going to do is the rapid plane is 10mm above the job. clearance plane is 2mm, top of the feature is 0.5 mm, which is correct, so we want to take 0.5 off as well. Next, we're going to do some facing operation. Select next, work offset number 1 or G54. We're not doing any rotary output, and we're doing everything in arc moves. Select next. So here's where I want to select the cutter. Now I want to select the cutter, and I have some in my tool crib. So in other words, if I go to my tool crib and go into my add from the tool library, you'll see I've got a 50mm cutter already set up in there. Now at the moment, when you buy the software, it will be all Imperial. Now you can work on the fly and just put things in, or you can build your own tool crib. It's up to you at the end of the day, but sometimes I find it easier just to create the tool on the fly. Select next. We're going to go zigzag back and forth. We're going to come off the workpiece by at least the radius of the tool. I'm going to do it in the X direction. I want width to cut 50%. Select next. Bottom allowance nothing, so we're going to take 1 cut. Next. Length 6.35. Next. And we're doing direct, or you could come round with an arc or direct. Select compute, and you can see I've created a toolpath on the top of that. Now in the simulation, you can see that feature there. If I go into modules, simulation, what it'll do then is come to the simulation, and the simulation shows the block that we generated for stock. I'll take the toolpath off, and all I'm going to tell it to do is come across and machine that top surface, which it has done. I can put the model on, the model's underneath, and I can do a comparison between the model and what we've just chopped off there. So if I go into here, select deviation, select OK, and what it'll do is just refresh the screen, and we'll see the deviation come into it. So there you can see it. If I actually turn the model off, you can see we've got a green just view all, and you can see we've machined the top of that, and you can see it's showing us a green mark that we are at that position. So if I close the simulation down, you can see we've gone across it that way. If I right click and edit, I can go into the patterns. In the patterns I can go into the Y direction and say I want to cut it in the Y direction. If I select compute, you can see it's going the other way now. So if we go into modules, simulation, and we turn off the toolpath, we can see it's going to go the other way now, which is what it's doing. Okay, close that down. I could, if I wanted to, right click, edit the operation, parameters, go back into patterns, custom, and 45 degrees, and compute. And you can see now, if I right click, we'll go into modules, simulation, take the toolpath off, and you can see now it's going to cut that at 45 degrees across the top of the job. So you can cut that face any angle you want. You can cut it in the X or the Y, or you can cut it at your own angle, whichever you want to do. Okay, I'll pull that back, edit, and go to features, patterns, go into the X direction, compute, and you can see now it's back to going in the X direction. If I right click and edit, let's go to leads, links, I'll do it with an arc, and tell it to compute. You can see now radially it will come in, then come round, come in, come round. So modules, simulation, and and what I'll do then is just turn the toolpath off, and it'll come on, and you can see it's arcing round. So you could stay on the face, not make that length, and then just come round so you're just cutting straight onto the surface. So what we've done is covered what the facing operations in the facing. You can show where you can change different directions or cut it at different angles. What we need to do then next is to rough out the 3D shape. So what I'm going to do now is just blank that toolpath, which blanks the toolpath off there, and what I'll probably do is blank the stock as well. And it doesn't matter in the setup, in the machining feature excuse me, you can just click on it. If we actually go into it, blank and unblank toolpath, you can see where you can just blank that toolpath. But if you click on the feature, it'll show you what features are doing what. So what we need to do now is we can go in there, right click, we can rename that, I could call that facing face, and so we know what that operation is to do that operation. So what I need to do now is introduce another one where I'm going to do some high-speed machining. I want to machine this component out. I want to cut it at 20mm depths of cut, and I want to rough it and semi-rough it at the same time. So in BobCAD, right click, I'm going to go into mill 3 axis, select geometry, or select, well, we need to select the geometry, which is the component itself. So if I select it all and just press the space bar, it's done it. Now it wants me to select a boundary. Well, I don't need to select a boundary for what I want to do. So if I go next, I'm going to set me rapid 10, 2. I can pick the top of the job, which is here, come onto the model, and you can see it's picked it as Z0. One of the other things as well, if I just cancel that operation that I'm doing at the moment, is I need to get down to this level, and I don't know what that level is. Now remember when we went into dimension video earlier, we can just come on and we can just click on a point and find out that that is actually minus 40mm down to that depth there. So that's the depth we're going down to. Just undo that for a minute, cancel that. I've got the information I need to for the machine depth. So back in again, let's go into 3 axis, select the geometry, select it, right click, press OK, or press your space bar. Next, my rapid's 5, I'll do 2, I can pick the top of the job, which is off that line there, which comes 0. Next, I want to do, I'm in the Pro version now, so I want to do advanced roughing. So select next, number 1, next. I'm going to use a 20mm cutter. So if I put 20 in, I can change the speeds and feeds, which I will do. I'm going to overwrite them. This is working off whatever it is, so I'm going to say I've got a 7000 and I want to run it at 2 meters and plunge in at 2 meters. Plunging in is because I'm going to actually come off the job. So we go next. I'm going to do adaptive roughing. I'm going to do zig, climb mill. Next. If I actually go back previous conventional mill, yeah, climb mill. Next. I'm going to do a 20mm depth of cut, and I'm going to come in 2mm at the sides, and I'm actually going to come up 10 times. So it's going to come down, rough it out 20mm, and then step back in 2mm intervals to come back up the 3D form. At this time I can define what it wants to be. The top of the job is 0, the bottom of the job is minus 40, which is what I found out when we looked at when we got that dimension off there. And I want to leave in X and Y and Z 0.5 mm. Next, Center cutting tool, just machine flat areas. Next, direct and compute. So it'll just take a little while to compute it. And you can see there the toolpath's been created. So what it's going to do is come down in 20mm depths of cut, at high speed its way inwards, and then it'll come in 20mm, then it'll come in down another 20mm, and then what it'll do, it'll step up in 2mm cuts and rough out that 3D shape for us. So if we have a look at the simulation on this now, so if I go into modules, simulation, okay, I'm just going to take the toolpaths off there, and what it is, I've already done the fit and we've already seen that. So if I select the next operation, you can see it's set the tool up there, and you can see I haven't got enough length in the tool, so I'm just going to go back to that operation, edit it, next, and I'm just going to give it the flute length 25 and just tell it to compute again. Okay, let's go back to the simulation. Get past the face mill, and you can see I've got the flute length back there for the simulation. So what we'll do is we'll run that now. Press play. You'll see it'll just come on the side, and it's gradually going to step in and rough out the outside. So we'll speed it up a bit, and you can see it's gradually coming in by the percentage I stepped it over with. So it'll come into its first depth of cut, down for second depth of cut, and then what it'll do then is start seeing the 3D shape. So it's going to rough and semi-rough. It's coming back up now, and you can see it's semi-roughing out. There you go, you can see it rough and semi-rough with the same operation. We could change the step over on there as well, so we can get it a little bit neater than that. So if I close that up, go back into my operation, edit, sorry, cancel that, feature, edit, next, 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 next. So now I want to do it in 20, so it'll come up in 1mm cuts, compute, as you can notice, Bobcat displays on the screen what's happening, so you know it hasn't stopped or freezing. You can see it's doing what it's doing. And we look at it now, you can see the step overs are different there. So if I go into modules, simulation, that's okay. I'm going to take that off. I'm actually going to advance, and then I'd run it again then. Still come down at 20 milli. In for the next pass. And you'll start seeing a finer step over as it's coming up now, because it's coming up in 1 millisteps a cut. So in BoCAD you can rough and semi-rough with the same tool, and you can see you've got a better toolpath and less work for the finishing tool. So that's the high speed roughing out. As I say, we can look at it, and we can also do the deviation. So we'll look at deviation. So now it's showing you where we've finished on the top. If I look on the top and just press that button mouse, you can see I've got no material on there, but if I press on this one, you can see I've got 0.5 of a milli on there, which is what I told it to leave on. Same for that one there. Press that, you can see there's a deviation. So let's just rewind that up. You can see the target tells you what you're leaving bits on, whatever you're doing. So if I close that up now, so what we want to do now is we want to do some finishing, where we're doing a Z level finish down it, some flatlands machining, which is what we'll do next. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do some flatland machining. We just want to machine the flats. So if I just blank that toolpath, and we'll create another operation to do the any flats on there. So right click, 3 axis, select the geometry, press the space bar, next, 10, 2, top of the job, 0, next. We want to do some flatlands, next, G54 outfit, next. Let's have a look. Let's put a different tool in. Let's put an 8 milli overall length, next. Zigzag climb mill, next. Top of the job, bottom of the job, -40. I don't really want to do the top, so I'm going to put -0.1. With the flatlands, let's just say it's 5, allowance nothing, step over, 5, next, 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 and compute. So you can see now it's come in and finished the flatlands. It hasn't done the top because we told it to, we'd already done that when we did the face mill. So let's have a look at what we've got now. So if we go into modules, simulation, just turn the toolpath off, and what we'll do is go to flatland. So what it's going to do now is just going to run through the verification rather than you run it. You can see it'll go down to that operation, and you can see we're at that operation there. So what we'll do is we'll run the flatlands. You can see now it's coming in, machining that out, coming around the sides, machining the bottom of that. And you can see the percentage of step over I've done it. So now it'll just come in, go round. Speed that process up. You can see now it's come round and machined it. So if we look at our deviation, I'm looking for green areas. Go down to the tolerance, you'll notice that between minus 0.2 and plus 0.2. So you can see it's finished machine there, finished machine that, and finished the machined the flatland areas there. So what I want to do now, I'm just going to blank this out, blank. And what we'll do next is we'll do the Z level down the component.
So what we'll do now is we'll do the Z level when I want to go down this component. You wouldn't do a planer across there because it wouldn't give you, you know, some people ask me what's the difference between Z level and planer. Well, Z level, if you imagine a cup, is for sort of going round a cup, and the planer is for going over shallow surfaces. So when you decide which one you want to do, it's Z level for going round on this particular type. On the planer one, that would be a planer toolpath on the last video. You wouldn't do a Z level on there because you wouldn't get the finish. So this is what we're going to do here. We're going to do the Z level. So let's go into milling stock, into machine setup. Let's introduce another 3-axis toolpath. Let's select the geometry, press the space bar, next. Okay, I'm just going to set that at 10, 2, and top of the job is 0. Sorry, 0. Let's put that in as 0. Next. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a Z level finish. So let's see how the Z level finish goes. This is in the standard, by the way. So I'll go next. I'm going to use Wick Offset G54. Outfit it. Next. I'm going to use let's use an 8mm 10mm ball nose cutter. 10. Let's put a 5 rad in there. Protrusion, we've got 38. We're only going down 40, so we're fine. Flute length's fine. Next, we're going to climb mill. Next, this is your step down coming down. So if I use it as a 0.2, we're not leaving anything in there. We can dictate by the top and the bottom of the job. So if I just say 0 to minus 40 is where I want you to work. You can increase this or decrease it. The less you go, the more finer the toolpath will be. There is no holes to cut, but I'd ignore holes if there was any. So select next. We're going to plunge. Next. We can either cut all or the innermost. Well, we'll just cut all because that's all we want to cut on the job. Next. We want it to follow. You can get it to lift off and come down, lift off and come down, but you'll end up with a mark. You can get a spiral effect if you want to come round it, or you can get it to retract and come up. We're going to use follow, linking follow, and compute. Just take a minute to generate the program, and we'll see the difference between a planer and a Z level. So if you have a look at what we've got there now, we've got a excuse me, we've got a Z level toolpath which is going round it. you can see here, you're always going to get this sort of effect, because what it is, you're asking it to come out 0.2, 0.2, and as it gets further down, it comes out more. So you get a more, a different type. You see how more coarse that is, coming down there. So it will give you a finish, a different type of finish. I'll show you what I mean when we do the simulation. So if we go into modular simulation, I'll just take the toolpath off. As I said before, we'll just get the verification to go through them operations we did, so we're not waiting to simulate them. And you can see now we're on the Z level. There we go. So what I'll do is I'll run that now. It's stepping out, that's the distance it's going to step out. Let's speed the process up. So what's happening now is it's doing the Z level around the component. As against going across it, which is planar, and you would do that for a shallow, in Z level this is what you would do, so you get a constant toolpath around it. Speed the process up. There's probably some areas in here we're not going to clean up, and probably some area down at the bottom of here we're not going to clean up. But we can come in and put a planar toolpath and just clean up that. And see what it looks like. And we'll speed that up to the end. Okay, you can see we've done a Z level down there. What we'll do is we'll just do a deviation between the model and what we cut. And there you can see it's done a Z level down there. Looks like that's okay down there, but there's an area here we may need to just machine that out from the flat. So we can put that operation in, but you can see you've done a Z level, just an area here that we need to machine out, and we'll set that up now. Okay, what I'll do is just blank the toolpath. So we've got a little area here that we need to machine out, which is here. So we're just going to make ourselves a little boundary so we can contain the area that we just want to pencil mill. And I'm going to step into here a little bit as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to extract this information off this surface here. So if I go into extract, signal, I'm actually going to get it to project up to Z, this surface here, and select OK. And you can see it's put that boundary there. But because I want to go into here a little bit, just to clean up and across there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to offset that profile, that boundary a little bit. So if I go into lines and go into parallel, I'm just going to move them, let's say 3 milli, and select I want to go that way, and select this one and I want to go that way. And then what I'm going to do then is go and trim. So if we go into the trimming, trim 2, I'm going to trim this entity and that entity, and I'm going to take that entity, that one, and I'm going to trim that one to this one and cancel. So what I can do now is just select that one, this one, and we can put that in the bin. So cancel. So what we can do now is we've made ourselves a little boundary that I want the tool to just go around, just to clean that out. And what I'll do now is I'll go into here. I'm going to create myself a new feature, a 3-axis feature. I'm going to select the geometry, which is, now it's going to ask me to pick everything, but I don't want to pick the boundary as well. So what I'll do is I'll select by colours, because that's easier, and I'll pick everything that's that colour. You can see I've picked that. Right click and select OK, and then I want to select a boundary. Now, to save me picking anything, I can pick by colours, anything that's green, and select OK, and you can see it pick that boundary and select OK. So go next. I'm going to set it at 10, 2, top of the job is 0. Next. I'm going to do a little planar operation. Next. Next. I'm going to stick an 8mm with a 4mm rad. Make sure there's enough protrusion. There is. Next. I'm going to go zigzag, whatever angle, 90 degrees. Select next. I'm going to do a 0.2 step over. Top of the job 0, bottom of the job -40. Next, plunge, yeah, and we'll do follow and compute. And you can see there we've created a toolpath around that shape. So what we can do is we can just run that, and it should clean up that area. So if we go into modules, simulation, okay, I'm not going to go through all them toolpaths there, just get the verification to run through it. Okay, let's turn the toolpath off. So all it's doing is just coming against that face and going to remove that. So we get it to blend up. Okay, if we have a look at it now, so if we go into and there you see it's cleaned up. I can just click on these faces. It tells me what's left and what's not left. But as you can see, we've got a nice finished job doing a Z level finish. We did have to do a planar on top, which just to clear out that bottom edge there. That's just because of the type of tools we were using. We had an end mill that can only go in so far, and a ball mill that can only come down so far. So what we had to do is make the planar toolpath. And you can see there we created, you could have made a smaller boundary here, you could have reduced this boundary. We could just chop it away there and have even less. If I just, I can do that up here and show you. If I just went into lines, lines parallel, let's make it 6mm. Pick that line, come in, pick this line, come in, and then what I can do then is trim away what I don't want. So let's get some scissors and quick trim what we don't want. Don't want part of this or that, or this or that. So we could have made a boundary that looked like that. So what we can do is go back into the operation, check the boundary. We can remove it and right click it and reselect it. Come onto it, press the shift key, highlight it, right click, select OK, and then get it to regenerate the toolpath. So if we compute the toolpath, you can see now we've just gone over that area only. So we're not doing any fresh air cutting there. So hopefully that gives you an insight into how you would manufacture that. I'm not saying you're going to do it the same as me, but hopefully I've given you some ideas about the Z level, the planer, the high speed machining, and hopefully that'll help you get started. And thank you for watching.